What's up, everybody, and welcome to Inside the Game, your source for everything in the world of video games. To get things started, we're talking about Big Brothers Big Sisters. That's right, the big game charity stream is back, where the guys and I will be live for 24 hours on September 17th and 18th. If you missed it, don't worry, hit us up later over at insidethegame.ca, where there you can still click on the Big Brothers link to help support and donate. Now, to get going in the show, what's on today's episode? Here it is. It's the rundown.
And I thought they laid this out really good, Drew. Like, we're a spy coming back for the second time around, and we're trying to take down the organization here. And
that's right, Arkane is back, and we're checking out Deathloop. Man, oh man, I couldn't believe it. We got our hands on this. This is incredible to see what Arkane is up to.
Alright guys, I'm back with Rainbow Six Siege North American Pro League coverage. Stage 3, it's already here.
Looks like a great show this week, but before we get started, don't forget, you can always submit your clip to be the clip of the week. All you have to do is go to insidethegame.ca or hit us up in Discord, where there you can end off our show. Now, to get things started, here's Scott with Neo, and the world ends with you.
I'm checking out Neo, The World Ends With You. That's right, I want to talk about Neo, The World Ends With You. This is quite an interesting title, and is on the PlayStation 4, the Switch where I've played it, and it will soon be available on PC at some point down the road. Now, this is Neo, but it is the sequel to The World Ends With You that came out in 2007. I was unfamiliar with this game, but I'm taking a look at Neo because it came to light, mostly based on its visuals, but we'll get into that later. This is a title in the works with Square Enix and Hand as developers, and it's published by Square Enix. Now, this comes along with some notable characters working on this game. The creative director is Tatsuya Nomura, who is definitely known for Final Fantasy and his touch with that.
One step closer to the edge. I'm about to wreck, so I'm ready. If you're let's play, the game is on, so bring it on. You don't know me, so I'll show you. Now you know me, I'll go through. I'm ready to take you. I'm right in front of you, right in front of you.
I want to start this off by just declaring this is not exactly a full review. It is going to be a preview of sorts. I want to show off some of the things that are going on, but I'm going to try and reserve some judgment until a later date where I've been able to put enough time into this title for what it deserves, and then I'll give it an actual score. The story for this title puts you in the shoes of a couple characters along the way, but mainly it's about Rindo and Fret as they kind of traverse Shibuya and find out what exactly is going on. There's something about this world that's off. It could have been a massive catastrophe. It's unclear exactly at the beginning, but there's a lot of these creatures around. They're referred to as noise, and a lot of these characters have these psychoactive abilities where they're able to summon fire or shoot bolts out of their hands or summon a weapon for strikes and sort of Final Fantasy stuff like that. But it's clear that there's something strange in this world, because right off the start it throws you into this strange scenario. There's something called the Reaper games, and these Reaper characters are speaking to you via billboard or on your phone, and they're kind of directing you to do all these things, and it just adds to a lot of mystery as to what is actually going on. I don't want to get into spoiler territory because I've gotten far enough where some things get explained, but let me just tell you, it's out there. The combat in the game is mostly based on what characters you equip with certain pins. So these pins they act as a spell of sorts that you can assemble or assign to a character, and that will take up one of the face buttons. X, Y, right trigger, that kind of thing. And in the battle kind of scenario, which is sort of like a mini game, you jump into that, it's real time, and you're just using these buttons to hop between characters and throw an attack in. There's an interesting kind of system that's working with this beats kind of thing, and your characters are grooving, which I thought was kind of funny, but it's just kind of window dressing around the combo system that does exist. The combat is just your characters versus the noise, they call it. Some sort of crazy monsters that exist in a reality sort of parallel to our own, where these people with psychoactive abilities can see them walking to and fro. They are sought out by these enemies, and it ends up being in a little fighting arena. I thought it was pretty interesting. There's a lot of artistic things happening on the screen. There's a lot of different camera angles that change perspective. You can never really control them. They're just camera angles, sort of like how Resident Evil does it, where you'll leave one street into the other and the camera will flip. But that, with the anime aesthetic of the city you're in, Shibuya, or just certain areas around it, walking through the cities, everything has this really anime, not cel-shaded, but similar. Think of a comic book. That's kind of how it looks, and it plays out similar to an anime would, and I really appreciate that aesthetic. That's actually what caught my eye about this game first. It has a lot of style to it. You can think of it as kind of a Persona similar look. Again, similarly to Persona, the audio to the game, it really excels in some categories. It has this energy to it. It's kind of a little funky, a little bit Japanese street kind of look and feel to it. It adds to the environment for sure, but it does kind of get a little droney if you're in the same area for too long. That's one kind of thing that stuck away from it. But I'm gonna try and hold off my criticism of that until later. Like I said, this is not a full review, but if I'm going to preview this, I hope I've shown you some things on screen that kind of allow you to see what this game is all about, and you're going to have some questions. I know I do, but we will return on this later, just for a full score and to give a real thorough examination.
No, I got a horrible feeling. Fret, run! Not that way!
A new game has finally begun.
Guys, we got a hot topic this week. We're talking about sports games becoming a little stagnant. It's because, why? Because they lack competition. Let's be honest, when we get into it, there's Madden. There's no other football game. There's NHL. There's no other hockey game. Baseball is the same thing. MLB The Show, right? NBA 2K 2021, 2022, same thing. Year in, year out, same developer, same game, blah, 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 blah. Nate, I know you're just fired up before we even got into this. So why don't you lead the charge, buddy? What's going on in the world of sports games? What can they do better to improve? And why are we just sitting here year after year with the same game?
Well, this is what happens when a monopoly is created. When you have one company, they can slack. And as you can see over the years, I mean, if you look at Madden 22, I think the user score rating is something like 0.8. So the fact that it's below 1, this is saying something, guys. Yeah. This isn't like, an IGN even, they give it a 6. And that's a low score for IGN to give them, to give Madden. So, guys, what is the problem here? Well, they create a game every single year. The developers, I don't even give them too much fault. They have 9 months to crunch out a new game, try to make new features and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I think this kind of has to rely on EA. I mean, they push this every single year. I think with the $3 billion or something that they made last year they've made billions of dollars, on sports games alone. They could hire a second company so that we could get, just more features in our sports games. I mean, you can look at, I think it's something like Madden 2006. They have features in that game that are completely have been abandoned for like 10 years in Madden. Yeah. Why? I have no idea. I mean, they've been there. They're already there. Why not use them? So before I ramble too much, because I could go on this for a long time, but Corey, what do you think, man?
Well, I mean, I think we all consider ourselves somewhat casual sports games players. We've all played the Shells, the Maddens, the 2Ks, that kind of thing, and we all enjoy them to a degree.
Yeah.
But when we get into these games, like you were just noting at the beginning, Drew, it lacks a level of competitiveness, not even only just with the other games in the market that are the same, whether it be a hockey game, a basketball game, whatever.
Yep.
These games get so toxic online when it comes to online franchises, just online versus play. I mean, NHL, I'm going to kind of poke at just a little bit here because glitch goaling's been so bad. It doesn't matter what year of Schell it is. There's probably 3 or 4 glitch goals that someone's gonna, exploit while you're playing against them. That's all they're gonna do, and it really just ruins the entire experience to the point where you're probably just turning the game off for most of the part. And you know what? Madden's right there with it. I mean, I'm seeing clips from Madden this year of things that would never happen in a football game if it was played in space even. And it's crazy. Like, it blows me away that these companies get away every year because, you know what? People just want their sports games. Drew, you noted even before we started talking about this, we even do it. We just want the new and shiny, right? And even if it's just a couple new features, maybe these are the features that are going to make this game 1,000 times better than last year's game. But you know what? We end up being more disappointed than not. And to me, we just need more competitiveness overall in these markets. We need more sports games, whether it's arcade style, hockey or arcade style football. Let's bring NBA Street back. Let's get some of these more fun sports game franchises back to kind of liven up this market again. I mean, yes, it would be nice to see, simulation games and have, competitive developers out there making multiple games, but honestly, I don't see these monopolies going anywhere. So I'm just trying to figure out, what's the glass half full here, where you'd be looking at these markets and trying to figure out what could be better. Let's bring back some of these retro sports franchises, and I think that would help really kind of bring things back. I don't know about you, Scott. I know you've probably played some of those, but overall, I think we've just, I don't know, man, we need change.
Yeah, no, I hear a lot of what you're saying. There's the old game that I used to play a lot was Wayne Gretzky's 98, and it was awesome. But it was not a simulation. It was decidedly different, and that was really important. That's what made it stand out. And since then, I've fallen into the NHLs, and I do enjoy them. I'm not going to try and say otherwise, but that lack of competition really just stagnates all the innovation. And then, as Nate said, with the turnaround time to pump out a new game, there just isn't time to innovate, and it really is to the detriment of the whole genre now, because there's one monopoly and they're all kind of having the same issue, which is it's just stagnating to the point where we're seeing the copy of a copy of a copy over a decade now.
Absolutely, Scott. I think that's the biggest thing, right? Like Nate brought it up before. This was off camera, actually. I want to give him credit to this because this was a great point. Call of Duty has 3 teams working on the same franchise. Why can't they do that with other sports games? Why can't EA do that? Dude, they got deep pockets. So Nate, that was a great point, right? Like, there's no reason why they can't. What happens is we fall into the same thing. MLB The Show. Here's a prime example. I'm playing the crap out of franchise mode. Every time I jump back into my save file, last night I jumped back in. Here's what happens. Get ready to pitch. Everybody, welcome back to the game. You're in for an exciting turnaround. We're going for the cycle with this batter. Do the cycle. You know what cycle contains? A first base hit, a double, a triple, and a home run, okay? It's the first pitch of the first inning. There is no cycle. And it is every single time I jump back into my franchise game. I'm like, this is ridiculous because there's no competition, right? It's MLB The Show, and that's all there is. 2K used to make a baseball game, doesn't make it. EA used to make MVP, don't make it anymore. It's like, crap. We need these other franchises back to push this so we don't get this monotony of the same stuff. You're going to get into the same dialogue eventually as you get further and further into your franchise. But to get that every single time I turn it on, we're going for the cycle. I'm like, it's the first pitch. There is no cycle yet. Like, give me a break.
And he gets a hat trick. Shot of the game. What?
Right? Like, that's the problem, is that there's no competition. So these companies just get to steamroll with the same game over and over and over again. Yeah, they make small iterations, small improvements, bug fixes, and things like that. But it's just not enough today's standards. Absolutely. Like, I've seen some of the Madden stuff. It is ridiculous. Like, that is absurd to have that in. Like, they can't feel
Next gen simulation football, buddy. That's what Madden 22 is supposed to be. And if you look up any videos on that, that is the furthest thing from it.
right? And that's a problem. In today's standards, when we have companies that take their time to build a polished game, or even we stumble into other games that have taken 6 years to build, how do you turn around a game in 9 months? You can't really do that nowadays. Something needs to change. We'd like to know your feedback. Hit us up, insidethegame.ca. Corey, I don't think you're gonna die. I expect you to die, too.
Oh no.
Another relaxing mission. And while you'll need to go undercover and make use of our latest disguise technology, you'll also enjoy traveling in style to luxurious locales. Of course, the agency will provide a well-balanced meal plan.
Corey, Schell Games are back again, dude. It is I Expect You to Die 2, The Spy and the Liar. What a fantastic game, man. I got goosebumps already just talking about it. I was so excited to see that Schell Games came back with another one. Finished the first one. It was fantastic. It was so cool. It is basically it's a VR puzzle spy game, essentially, right? What were your impressions of it?
Well, I've played a couple escape room style VR games in the past, and my biggest run-in before I get into many details about this particular game is I have issues picking up things off the ground. Mainly just because I've got Cosmos Elite, so I've got the sensors. There's one actually in the back there, and it just doesn't necessarily pick up where the distance of the floor is compared to me, so I could never reach things for certain games. Well, this game's done a really good job because you have telekinetic powers in this one. You have the ability to basically, as long as you can see it, you can grab it and pick it up. So that right off the bat already made this a better experience than most of the ones I've already had kind of in this genre with VR. And I thought they laid this out really good, Drew. Like we're a spy coming back for the second time around, and we're trying to take down the organization here and foil their big plan, right? And the idea is to kind of save the world. And they laid it out in kind of a way that was done really well. The tutorial was short and sweet, but gave you a good feel for what you need to do and how to kind of control yourself in this world. And I thought they did a really good job. It felt polished. I mean, a lot of VR games are kind of clunky, so it's tough to get that, grab and use, and those easy kind of simple things we take for granted in a lot of regular games to get it, done really well in VR. And I thought they did it good here, Drew. I had a lot of fun playing this game, but like you said, there's a lot of dying, and you should expect to die when you play this because there's a lot of trial and error here.
Dude, it was funny. So I'm playing the game, right? And Crystal asked me, "What are you playing?" And I went, "Austin Powers." I went, "Oh no, wrong game. That's not. I'm not. I went to The Spy Who Shagged Me." I went, "No, that's wrong." But that's the charm of the game, right? It kind of brings that Austin Powers-esque kind of scenario to the world of I Expect You to Die too. It's so charming. It's so well written. The dialogue is fantastic. The voiceovers are awesome. It's just an enjoyable experience. You sit there, dude. Like some puzzles took me overall, by the time you complete it, it gives you a time of like maybe 10-15 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, depending on how fast you can get through it. But that's after I've died 3 or 4 times to figure out where I needed to get, right? I'm getting gassed, I'm getting shot by lasers, I'm getting people shooting at me with darts and things like this. And it's just so crafty and unique to experience a game like this. And like you say, how polished the game is too, right? I didn't feel clunky whatsoever. Everything I looked to achieve within the game was doable, right? It was not like, okay, I know it's supposed to work, but it's not working. But every time I tried it, dude, it worked. Like it was just right there. And I love the setup of the game. I absolutely love this whole spy scenario that they have going for it. It's fantastic. If you didn't play the first one, it continues off of the first one, so I recommend you go back, play that one first, and then jump into this. Technically, you can get into this one without playing the first one. It explains it relatively quickly, what happens, and like, right? Like, even the bad guys picked up on it, so it was cool. It really, dude, it's a charming game for VR, and it's one experience that you have to play.
Oh, definitely.
I knew that voice was familiar. Agent, she's a Zoraxis operative known as the Fabricator. That is not an idle threat. Stay alive until I can get an evac team to you.
Hey,
Corey, what I like too about the options is the ability to either stand or sit down when you play the game. A lot of these companies try to do both things, and sometimes they don't necessarily work. I sat when I played, and that was great. Everything was, like you say, right, in reach, because you have the ability to use your powers to reach for things that you normally wouldn't have to be able to get to. But what did you stand, or were you sitting?
No, actually, I did sitting as well. There's a lot of VR games that we play that give you the option to stand or sit. I find sometimes when you're in a smaller space, sitting is easier, but not every game kind of executes it that well. They've done a really good job here because more often than not, you're sitting behind a desk or you're always in a sitting position in the game, so it really tailors to it well. So I found that very nice. And like you said, the controls make it easy. You can point, click, grab, do whatever you need to do from the one position. So you're not moving around, smacking controllers off the walls, kicking your dog by accident. Like it's nice to be able to play in a way where the controls, are kind of seamless in that manner. But at the same time, the difficulty level of this game, when there's this trial and error of every time you go into this level, you're switching this button and then you die, and then okay, don't do that next time, and you're jumping back and forth. If you've never played a game like this before and you want to try to get into something like this, it can be a little difficult to kind of stick with it if you find it a little disheartening when you die every time, right? And you're trying different things, and some of these puzzles kind of get you stuck a little bit. So if you do have a difficult time with this, you might not have that. I guess on one end, some people have that one more try mentality, you know what I mean? You might not get that necessarily here if you get too frustrated, and then doing all of this in a VR world just kind of stacks a little bit. So if I had to fault this game for anything, is that the difficulty spike is pretty high if you're not willing to put the time in to kind of understand how they want you to play this game. So I mean, if you're just jumping in trying to have a good time escape room style, you may find yourself a little bit deceived in that sense, where this game is difficult, so you have to invest a little bit of time in figuring these puzzles out, because when you do get to the end of the puzzles and you kind of work through, it is pretty rewarding. I mean, overall, I had a blast through.
Overall, dude, I had a great time. This game is fantastic. It's one of my favorite games on VR. It's one of the best things you have to experience. You own VR, get the game. Like, there's no doubt about it. For me, dude, I'm right there at the top for my score, too. I'm there with a 9. What are you at?
You know what? I can't fight you on that at all, Drew. I had too much fun playing this game. I think graphically it looks great. The audio throughout it gives us that, man of mystery, spy scene vibe, and they did a great job with that. So it just kind of envelops you even that much more than just being in the VR world already. So I'm right there with you with a 9 as well.
Awesome.
Perfect. Let's see. The fabricator's been making these masks, and Juniper's been using them to impersonate heads of state. But why? Perhaps the desk has more.
A great sequel that does a good job at putting you in the shoes of a super spy. Well thought out level design and great audio will keep you coming back as you try to solve the puzzles and save the world.
I can see you're settling in. Please make yourself comfortable.
Alright, so we got some huge news come from Europe in regards to PEGI, which is a content rating system used over in Europe. So, the really big news is in regards to Pokemon. Last week, they were going to make Pokemon 18 plus, and I'm talking about the old Pokemon games. They're going to make them 18 plus because of gambling, because they have slot machines in their game. Yes, I agree that slot machines, if there's any sort of gambling, that should definitely be clarified when you're buying a game. But I mean, Pokemon Red and Blue, when I played those when I was like 5 years old, I had no sort of drive towards wanting to go and buy scratch tickets or go and play the slot machines at such a young age. But you know what does get me excited, and especially young people, is the My Ultimate Teams that are in all these sports games. Yes, you buy card packs, you have this chance to win the gold card, the gold Vince Carter from 19 whatever. Yes, these are true gambling mechanics that are implemented in games, not what was put in Pokemon Red and Blue. What is implemented in EA's games, 2K's games, MLB The Show, all these sports games is pure gambling mechanics. So what I want PEGI to do is focus on the most important thing, and that is the sports games that have created a monopoly. There's only one company basically making each and every single sports game, and this is a huge problem. And it's clear when you look at these My Ultimate Team modes, it is just a money fest and a gambling fest, and it has been ignored for years. So what I want Peggy to do is within the next, year, by now, they need to make sports games 18 plus. Yes, I know kids don't have credit cards, but their parents do, and it is very easy for kids to access these credit cards and all this information on these sports games. They make it super easy, of course. So I leave it with you guys. What do you think about this? I am clearly enraged that they tried to make Pokemon Red and Blue PEGI 18 plus, but refused to look at EA and what they do with their sports games and just think it's okay for an 8-year-old to go and buy an imaginary deck of cards from a sports game.
Got a cool one this week. We're going to be talking about Super Mario 64. Yep, the Nintendo 64 game, Super Mario 64, and Lego. They've actually hooked up together for a collaboration, Nintendo and Lego have, and we're going to be getting a Super Mario 64 Lego set. An over 2,064 piece Lego set to be exact. And this one is pretty cool. We actually start off when once it's completely built, you get the outside of this entire kit is one of the Mario ? Blocks, kind of an iconic item from almost every single Mario game out there. This thing looks awesome. The best part is what's inside. This part opens up and it unfolds into 4 kind of iconic levels from Super Mario 64 with a few different small character figurines in there as well. And I mean, just the way this thing folds out, it looks amazing. And I think fans of the Super Mario series are gonna love this kit just as a whole. And you know what? Kids, parents, families, everybody are gonna love this thing, whether you're a fan of Mario or not. This set is just so cool and kind of innovative in how it kind of opens up and folds out. I mean, Lego's always at the forefront of this kind of stuff, but to be able to collab with a company like Nintendo, which they've done in the past with a few other sets, but this one, Pablo Gonzalez, a senior designer over at Lego, said that this, this set had to be a part of it. This is such a part of Mario and Nintendo's history that not including something to do with Mario 64 would just be a huge miss on Lego's part. So they wanted to be able to commemorate this game by putting together this awesome set that's going to be available on October 1st. Mind you, it's not going to be cheap. Right now, the suggested retail price is $169 USD. I mean, we're going to be paying upwards of $200 Canadian for this set, but I mean, collectors and fans of Mario alike, I think are going to want to get their hands on this one. So you can actually head over to Lego's website on October 1st to be able to get your hands on one of these things. I got a feeling these things are going to be scooped up pretty quickly. But anyways, Mario Nintendo 64 Lego set, 2,000 pieces. This thing's going to be awesome. I can't wait to check it out.
If you've had the opportunity to play the amazing 2018 Gods of War by Sony Santa Monica Studios, then you know this game is up there as one of the all-time greatest, because this game is absolutely flawless as you take on the role of Kratos on a mission to scatter your wife's ashes, but also build that special bond between you and your son Atreus. Well, just like Thor that has a magical hammer, Kratos uses a magical axe called the Leviathan axe that he uses to defeat his enemies, but he can also use to summon back to his hand, and you can also use special ruins to upgrade your axe to use special abilities. Well, it saddens me to say that the engineer creator of the Leviathan axe, George Marwey, has suddenly passed, and Cory Barlog and Mahir Seth tweeted recently with Mahir actually saying, after God of War 2018 shipped, he always say that he never thought he'd work on a game and feature so beloved in his career of ups and downs. He would repeat this out of the blue 2 years after. We really did alright, didn't we? Yes, George, we did alright. Mahir also mentioned, there's much more I could say, as I'm sure is the case with many other people he's worked with. I'd welcome others to share in the comments. Games are made by people, and we all lost a great one on Thursday. We all miss you, big guy. Our thoughts go out to George's friends and family. So I'm going to leave you a little snippet of what Kratos does best, and let's take out some enemies with his awesome Leviathan axe.
Looks like I'm caught in another loop. It's Deathloop. That's right, Arkane is back, and we're checking out Deathloop. Man, oh man, I couldn't believe it. We got our hands on this. This is incredible to see what Arkane is up to next. And if you played anything like the world of Dishonored, well, you kind of have a heads up of what you're getting into, but with a lot more confusion. There's a lot going on under the hood of this game. There are so many systems and mechanics and things that were just happening and unfolding as I was continuing on with the story, the campaign. Several hours into this game, and I was still seeing tutorial windows pop up. It was just non-stop. The basic premise of what's going on is you're caught, as called, in a death loop. There's this continuous loop where you keep dying and you're trying to break the cycle. How do you do that? The visionaries. You have to eliminate the visionaries in order to break that cycle. All in a day. You have one day. There are 4 cycles throughout the day: morning, noon, afternoon, and evening. You have to eliminate 8 targets. This is not going to be an easy game for anybody by any stretch of the means. There's a lot going on, from how all the systems work, to the story, to finding out the information you need to eliminate your targets. It's a matter of going back to these 4 regions that you have as a playground. And that's the biggest opportunity that the game brings, is it's an open style playground for your fingertips. It's incredible the amount of opportunities that come knocking your way without you even realizing it sometimes. But the good news is there's a whole menu system that allows you to keep track of what's going on with the world, so you do have some kind of guidance, but yet you're still left with the mysteries of the world. Deathloop is the ultimate playground. You could go into a courtyard one morning and it could be completely empty. You visit that courtyard in the afternoon and there's a party going on. But if you were there earlier in the morning and maybe you tampered with the events that would lead into that party in the afternoon, that afternoon party might not actually happen. This is the opportunity that Deathloop brings for you to alter the outcome of the world, whether that's the time of day you go visit, or your targets come at night, or during the day. It depends on how you play the game and how you go back and forth between all these loops and situations and scenarios that just unfold, and that kind of leads into the whole complexity of what's going on, because there's a lot to kind of follow and understand, to the point where I think some people are going to like this game and others are going to be put off by how complex and confusing this game can really get at times. The confusion part really is the entire game. Yeah, I know that doesn't sound like a good thing, but it depends on how invested you want to get into the game. If you are really invested into the mechanics of how Dishonored worked in the past, you're going to get that same vibe here, but at a higher level. There's a lot of customization going in when you're gathering weapons, trinkets, slabs, modifying your gear, your loadout, this, that, the other, the time of day you're heading out to take out a target, information you want to go gather to try and lure in another target. How do you eliminate multiple targets at the same time? Does it sound a little confusing? Because it is. And then to get into, on top of all of that, you can infuse your weapons and your slabs and all of other stuff to upgrade that gear. There's a light kind of RPG element to everything as well. The trinkets have different gear scales that you can get into: gray, blue, purple, and you kind of get better rewards, right? The more you get into the game, the better things become, more powerful Colt becomes, and it's a death run. It is a murdering puzzle of a game, and it is so cool, but it might be really off-putting to some. And that's my biggest concern going into the game after playing it for so many hours and getting lost, confused, going back to this world, going back into that one, trying to find out through all the menu systems and the menu and menu and menu and more menus and then more documents. And then this doesn't sound the greatest at times, but if you can get overcome by all of that mechanic that's in the game, that you can slowly understand as the hours and hours unfold within Deathloop, you're in for something that you've never played before because it is so rewarding. If the banter isn't enough between Colt and Juliana for you, well, then there's also the multiplayer side. That's right, there's a multiplayer aspect to Deathloop, very unique as well, and thankfully there's the opportunity to turn it off if you're not looking for that PvP aspect, because Juliana enters into your world within the single player campaign. But if you open up the opportunity for multiplayer, the Juliana character is an actual person. That's right, she can come in and interfere with your world, set you up, booby traps, this, that, the other, or just literally take you out. There is this opportunity, but you can turn it off. That's a nice feature. Or have friends only. I like that idea. All said and done, Deathloop is an incredible experience. It can be very complex and confusing, but once you figure out all the systems, you're into something that you've never played before. Arkane has created the ultimate playground with Deathloop. It's something everybody should check out, or at least give a chance, and it puts me there with an 8.5. Deathloop brings stealth with style, that arcane flair of opportunity of eliminating your targets to the pathways you take. Everything is up to you. Well, Colt.
Alright guys, I'm back with Rainbow Six Siege North American Pro League coverage. Stage 3, it's already here. We're finally getting into that time of year where we're wrapping up all of Rainbow Six Siege Pro League. Stage 3 is it, guys. We'll have some majors after that, and then season invitationals moving into 2022. But let's get into Stage 3 because we've had some huge changes already within the short period of time since the Mexico majors. So heading into our first matchup, we had Beast Coast up against Xset on Cafe. Both of these teams struggled last stage, but were progressively making improvements as the season went along. Now this stage, we have some significant roster changes. Xset dropped Drip and Thomas while adding NVK and Prod. NVK was once a world champion back in 2017, but a lot has changed in 4 years with this game, so his addition wasn't as impacting as, let's say, Beast Coast. Beast Coast axed Rudy and Biologic for Young Alec and Jay. Young Alec is a rookie heading into the Siege Pro Leagues, but has been quite a prospect leading up to Playday 1, and wow, has he made a grand entrance. Young Alex was 10-1 by round 4, while NVK was 1-8 by round 8. That pretty much sums up the result of the match as Beast Coast crushed Xset 7-4. So a huge shout out to Young Alec for having a great first match, and I look forward to seeing what Beast Coast can do for the remainder of this stage.
And Young Alec is doing his finest work. He catches Prod, and he's got one more as well with the pistol, but he takes it with the knife instead. An excellent 4K from Young Alec. Welcome to the show, my friend, and what a first round to have.
Yeah, that is his very first round, and I mean, again, we always got to compare to Kino. He had his first round, he got an ace on Thermite. But here for Young Alec, he gets a knife kill. I'd say that's about on par with a 3K to boot, actually a 4K. That's a 4K to boot for Young Alec, with the knife being the last kill.
So match 2, we had Space Station Gaming fighting Mirage on Clubhouse. Again, both of these teams have roster changes, with Quartz being dropped from Mirage and replaced with Thomas, while Thinking Nade was taken off of SSG for Skies. This is huge in my opinion, because Fultz, Bosco, Rampy, and Thinkinade have been together for a very long time and once won the World Championship. So to see the fearsome foursome cut down to a triple threat, it's very shocking. But heading into the actual match itself, it seemed the roster changes worked well for SSG. After only 10 rounds, SSG stomped their way to a 7-3 victory.
Rampy watching the narrow opening, and he takes down Dream, looking for another. The body continues to fall, and a Nitro Cell could be their undoing. They're going to swing wildly, and SSG are cleaning up. Thomas takes one down, but Rampy buries him, and with him goes the rest of the match. SSG 7-3 over Mirage.
Heading into match 3, we had again a 7-3 match on Clubhouse this time, with Oxygen beating TSM. This came to me as a bit of a shock, as TSM got one of their key players back, Merc, and are returning from a strong Stage 2, although they did have a bit of a weak appearance in Mexico during the majors. But Merc having one solid round where he got almost an ace, it wasn't enough of an impact to stop Oxygen. This entire match was unlike a lot of the others, where a lot of the action was within the first half of the round. I think this fast-paced action caught TSM off their guard and gave Oxygen a strong 3 points.
Only need one round to try and secure this, and they're able to get 2 big frags. Geo trying to work his way in. Bikino's got the flank. He'll be able to take him down. Last remaining member, the sole member inside of blue, will lose his life as well for TSM as Oxygen claim their very first map here inside of the NAL for Stage 3.
The fourth and final match was the Sonics dueling Astralis on Chalet. Astralis is the exact same roster of Disrupt Gaming, only under a new banner and color change. No roster changes between any of these teams means that we get to see growth within all of these members for a whole other stage. The Sonics having Grixer and Rexen on their roster makes a huge impact. Grixer was plus 27 and Rexen was plus 34 last stage. These two titans are making quite a name for themselves, and I cannot wait to see how the rest of the stage unfolds, because again, a 7-3 match outcome means that the Sonics was absolutely on fire. But alright guys, that's Playday 1 under wraps. We had 4 teams with 3 points across the board, 4 teams with 0 points across the board. So stay tuned next week for Playday 2 coverage.
Setup now turns against them. The attackers can use that soft breach in the wall to DP Fire's left to absolutely destroy him if he moves forward, but instead it's DP Fire to destroy Rexen. This is the tough part though. He's breached his way forward into the site. As he moves his way further in there, Nitro's all going to work its way out. He finds another kill for 3 overall in the round. All of a sudden it's just him versus 2. A very healthy amount of damage going to be thrown onto DP Fire here. However, Super should be in a good position to shut him down, but he actually hops up, gets the quad.
No way.
The ace is only one more kill away, but it's Grixer, the man who went down earlier, saves the day at the end of the round as he saves this one from going out of the control of the Sonics.
That'll wrap up today's episode. Thank you for hanging out with us. And don't forget, going to InsideTheGame.ca. We're there. You can still help and support by donating at the Big Brother banner on InsideTheGame.ca. So make sure you swing over there. And of course, wrapping up today's episode, we have a clip of the week with Keith and some nice sniping in the world of Splitgate. See y'all next week, Inside the Game.
Five minutes remaining. King Slayer, Collateral, Killing Spree.